We all know that the PMP exam is situational, and most of these situations are about issues faced by the project manager. And the question is, what should the project manager should do, right? And if you understand how to reply to those questions, and if you have the skill to reply to these questions correctly, you are going to reply to most of the PMP questions. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you step by step how to reply to those questions where the project manager faces issues and how they could resolve these issues effectively. So here I'm going to explain what is the workflow for the problem without any intervention and explain why the project manager should intervene. And here I'm going to explain what are the different steps that the project manager should do in order to resolve this problem. Watch this video till the end. It's going to help you resolve so many PMP questions. Here we have the problem that you are going to read in the PMP question. And usually this problem has different components. The first component of the problem is the reason or the factors that leads to this problem. I can call them issues here because usually by definition the issue is smaller than the problem, and we could have just one issue or multiple issues leading to this problem. Okay, we could have these issues that are leading to our problem, as we could have one single issue leading to the problem. Sometimes we could have triggers or one trigger to the problem. I can give you an example. If the problem is that the customer is dissatisfied, and the issues could be related to quality, they could be related to planning, they could be related to many factors, and the trigger here is a deadline is missed. When we reach this, like deadline is missed, the customer becomes unhappy and they said, I'm not satisfied because this and that. And the trigger is that missed deadline, you know? Okay, is that missed deadline? And we can call them event here. Is that event that leads to the problem? And once the problem takes place, we could have many effects. And these effects could be just one effect, as they could be multiple effects. And if we don't intervene, these effects becomes bigger and bigger over time. Here, the effects are going to multiply if the project manager don't do anything until there will be a limit. These will not be increasing to the infinite. At certain time, the customer will deposit a claim, and if the claim is not resolved, it will become a dispute. Now we still to mention something here. For every problem, we said that there are some factors that leads to this problem, and there are some effects. Because of one of the issues, let's say this is the issue or the main issue that leads to the problem, and we can see this issue as the root cause of the problem. As we cannot see the root cause among these issues, and we need to dig further until finding the root cause of the issue. So here I want you to understand something, that whenever you face an issue, try to identify this. That's a key for every single PMP question. You can find the root cause just among the different reasons for the problem, and in many cases you cannot find them here. You need to do more research until finding this root cause. I can give you another example. For example, you have a wall that cracks as an issue, and the problem that we are facing a lot of cracks until reaching a level where the wall is going to be collapsing. And the root cause is not the cracking. The root cause could be the foundation not good. That's the root cause of the issue. And you cannot see it here until doing more research about reading the plans, the designs, etc. So this is the big picture about the workflow of problems. If we don't intervene, this is what's happening. A small issue, we could have multiple issues, we're gonna have trigger, the problem is surfaced, and the effects will be consequences for this problem, and they gets bigger until we have a claim and we have disputes, and the project could fail consequently. As project managers, our role is not to reach this level, is not to reach this either, is not to have bad effects either, and is not to reach this problem phase either. If we face issue, we try to fix those issues first. So this is what should the project manager do. If we are here in the face of facing some issues, we need to prevent the problem. In other terms, we need to fix the issues, okay? So in this phase, we need to fix those issues and prevent getting into problems. And if we are already in the problem phase, you need to prevent the claim. In other terms, we need to resolve the problem. And if we are reaching this level, we need to proceed with claims management. So this is what should the project manager do depending on each phase of the problem. Okay, until now, this is clear. Let's move to the next step. We said here that we need to fix the issues. Fixing the issues could follow the same logic for fixing the problem. And if they are simple issues, just use your communication skills as a project manager and try to follow best practices and follow the right processes to resolve the issues. And in case you are going to resolve the problem, there is 5 steps that I want you to remember by heart, that I want you to remember, because these 5 steps are critical in answering the PMP questions. The first step for resolving the problem is to identify the problem. This is the first step. And that's so critical. Why? Because in some situations, they give you a problem or a situation, and they try to make you think that the problem is this effect or the problem is this issue. And that's why this is the first step that you need to understand. The problem is here and not here, not there. This is the problem. So every time you read the PMP question, you read the situation, try first to identify the problem. That will help you eliminate some wrong options. After identifying the problem, the second thing is to find the root cause of the problem. That's so important. This is just comes next to defining the problem. What is the root cause? And here, in order to find the root cause of the problem, you need maybe to consult with, you need to check the documentation, you need to check the registries, you need to check data, you need to review with your team, you need to do a lot of research in order to find the root cause. And that's where a lot of PMP students get wrong. When they face problem, they jump to the conclusion without digging the root cause of the issue. Be careful. After identifying the problem, try to find out which is the root cause of the problem. Third, now you identify the problem, you found the root cause, you need to brainstorm the different alternatives for resolving the problem. And this phase usually involves the project team. You are not the expert in the project. You have a team that you are managing, and you need to involve them in giving you the solution for the encountered issues. So therefore, after brainstorming the different alternatives, you implement the right one. And usually in this step, you also consult with the stakeholders, with key stakeholders, you get their approval, in order to implement the corrective actions. And finally, after implementing the corrective actions, you don't stop here. You keep reviewing or evaluating the impact of the solution that you implemented. And this is usually the workflow for resolving any kind of problem. Sometimes you are asked about a problem which is already solved. And the question is, what should the project manager do? In this case, you need to evaluate what has been taken place and you capture the lessons learned from the solution that you implemented. And sometimes you are asked about, consequently, you need always to understand the time and at which point asked to act. It's not the same when you are asked here, here, or here. And even between these different steps, the answer could differ based on which step you are in the process. But usually the big picture is this. You need to keep it in mind. Always start with identifying the problem, find the root cause, brainstorm the different alternatives, implement the chosen option for resolving the problem, and finally evaluate the implemented solution and capture the lessons learned and keep iterating until resolving the problem.